Good evening, everyone. This is Melissa Thomas of Florida National News with the evening news rundown for your Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we like to bring you guys the latest reports in terms of COVID-19 cases and deaths globally here in the US and in the state of Florida. So, according to the World Health Organization, we're seeing over 9.1 million confirmed cases now and over 473,000 confirmed deaths. According to the Johns Hopkins University here in the United States, we're seeing over 2.34 million confirmed cases and over 121,000 confirmed deaths. In the state of Florida, the Department of Health's dashboard is reporting over 109,000 confirmed cases and over 3,200 confirmed deaths. Now, jumping over to your world story now, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has been ordered by a federal court to finally start wearing a mask. Federal Judge Renato Borelli actually told Bolsonaro that he is subject to a fine of 2,000 reais, which is about $387 US per day, though. He would be charged that fine per day if he continues to disobey the federal district ordinance that is meant to slow the outbreak. President Bolsonaro has been going without a mask to different speeches, different rallies, and just choosing not to wear one. And of course, with Brazil, the spikes that Brazil is seeing, especially with Brazil being among the top three with the highest COVID-19 spikes right now, the other two countries being Germany and the US, that fine is put in place to kind of help rein them in a little bit, I suppose. But that is the latest in the nation of Brazil. Originally, Bolsonaro, you heard us report here that he was downplaying the COVID-19 outbreak a little earlier in the year. He was mentioning that it was a media fantasy, and a few weeks later, he referred to it as a mild flu. However, as you guys have seen us report, the health system in Brazil is suffering as a result of the increase in cases. And Brazil health officials are saying they're experiencing challenges, not only because of the fragile system, but as they've described it, they haven't really received much help from the government to slow the spread or to get supplies that they need. Now, jumping here to the United States, someone who is not downplaying the COVID-19 virus, who's actually raising the alarm once more, is Dr. Fauci. He testified before US Congress yesterday, and during his hearing, he mentioned what he called, quote, a disturbing surge of COVID-19 cases in parts of the US. And what alarmed him this time was the nature of the spread. He said that it is now happening as an increase in community spread. So according to reports, there is a 5% growth in 26 states, or more than 26 states, including Arizona, Texas, here in Florida, and in Oklahoma. And COVID-19 hospitalizations are on the rise as well. So that was a point of alarm for him. He mentioned that at its peak, there were about 30,000 infections per day. But then with the lockdown, things began to plateau. So it went down to about 20,000 infections per day. But he mentioned that the cases are now up again. And in recent days, we're back up to 30,000 infections a day nationally. So he was definitely concerned about that. Another interesting thing that came up during his hearing is that Representative Bobby Rush out of Illinois actually asked Dr. Fauci the question about Black Americans who have suffered with COVID-19 and have passed away. He asked if institutional racism had something to do with that disproportionate number, and Dr. Fauci actually said yes. According to reports, the Black population constitutes only 13% of the overall U.S. population, but up to 23% of all COVID-19 deaths as of June 3rd were Black Americans, according to the CDC. So Dr. Fauci confirmed that there is a disparity there. A bit of silver lining in his hearing, he did mention that there was a decrease in COVID-19 deaths. However, he kind of cautioned it, saying that with the increase in hospitalizations, with more people going to the hospital, the number of COVID-19 deaths might begin to increase again as well. So as you hear us always tell you from Florida National News, please continue to practice social distancing, continue to wear gloves, use your hand sanitizer, wash your hands, and use your masks. All right, safety first. Every life is important. Now, jumping down to the state of Florida, someone else who's taking COVID-19 very seriously is Governor Ron DeSantis. He announced during his press conference yesterday at Orlando Health, at ORMC, that he will be suspending restaurant and bar licenses for any such entities that are not honoring the phase 2 50% capacity limit. This is coming on the heels of the suspension of the license for the Knights Pub, which is, of course, near the University of Central Florida's campus. That license was suspended because they were over capacity. Governor DeSantis mentioned that he, like you heard me just mention about Dr. Fauci, he noticed in recent reports that a lot of the more recent COVID-19 cases in the state were a result of community spread. And he saw that the age demographic is much younger, so between the ages of 25 and 35. And as of last week, the median age was around 32 years old in Orange and Seminole counties. So he wants to let restaurants and bars know, like, hey, honor the 50% capacity. If we see anything negligent, there will be a warning. If it's just absolute disregard for the requirement, then the license will be suspended. The Secretary Halsey Beshears, he did confirm that sheriffs across the state will be monitoring restaurants and bars to make sure that the attendance capacity requirements are met. It will start with a warning, but if things get too extreme, then the licenses will be suspended. So a bit of update there for you guys on that. Now, this brings us to our audience question. Do you guys feel that this particular measure is going to be effective in slowing the spread? Do you think it's going to be something that's going to be useful? Do you think it's useless? Do you think it's a bit much? Any way you guys feel about it, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you guys. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back with a few non-COVID-19 stories for you. There are a few of them, so come on back with us.
All this time we fought side by side. We trained together. We lost together. And now, you're the only one standing in my way. It's been a while, old friend.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us and tuning in. Now, a bit of non-COVID-19 news for you guys. In the state of Georgia, the Georgia legislature has officially passed a hate crime bill. Now it is set to sit on Governor Brian Kemp's desk. Just a little bit of detail on this particular bill. This was something that was a bipartisan deal. And you see me layering my hands because it was actually two bills that were passed to make this happen. Now, the hate crimes legislation, which is House Bill 426, that had bipartisan support, though some conservatives were voting against it. That's a discrimination bill that protects folks who are discriminated against for their race, their color, their religion, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. However, the deal that the Republicans made in the state legislature there was an additional bill, a separate bill, to also protect against law enforcement and other first responders. Now, there are some who were detractors saying that this particular version of the bill would no longer be necessary since there's already protections for law enforcement in Georgia, like the law enforcement there is already very well protected. However, in 2004, there was a bill that was struck down. That was completely repealed by the Supreme Court. So Georgia was one of 4 states that didn't have bias protections for the other parties involved in the current hate crime bill that has passed the legislature. So Governor Kemp said he said in a statement that he will sign the bill, and it's basically pending a legal review, but he already mentioned in the statement that it will be signed. So some big news coming out of the state of Georgia. And there's some legislative news coming out of Florida as well. We're going to come back to that in just a second. I want to share a quick other Florida update with you that the next presidential debate is actually coming to Florida, according to the Commission on Presidential Debates. Originally, it was scheduled to take place on October 15th In Michigan, at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, however, the university determined that it was no longer feasible to host that debate on that date. So instead, it will happen on the same date, but at the Adrian Arsh Center for the Performing Arts of Miami-Dade County in Miami. So coming all the way down south. Hopefully by then, the COVID-19 numbers will be a little bit better in that area because, as we know, there's still some spikes. And of course, with the recent mandate of masks that you guys heard us report on yesterday, hopefully things can turn around. But the other debate dates are still set. They're still confirmed, no changes, no postponements or anything like that. So there's one scheduled on September 29th at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. Of course, the one on October 15th coming to Miami, and on October 22nd at Belmont University in Tennessee. The vice presidential debate is still set for October 7th at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Now, a bit more Florida news for you guys, coming back to the legislative announcements. Governor Ron DeSantis signed a few more bills into law as of yesterday. So 2 big announcements. There is one bill that will make the Holocaust and the Ocoee massacre be taught in schools now. Now, this was again, a bipartisan effort by Representative Randy Fine in the Florida House and Senator Laura Book in the Senate. Those two came together with the Holocaust legislation. State Senator Randolph Bracey was pushing the Ocoee massacre legislation, and they brought them together in one bill. So that is now signed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, with the Ocoee massacre, this is something that is going to be the African American Education Task Force that is up in Tallahassee will be required to come up with a plan to create a curriculum where that incident will be taught in schools. So that is one more step. And of course, Senator Bracey was absolutely happy. He posted on Facebook about that at the passing of the bill. The other important legislation that has passed as of yesterday is what's called Donna's Law. Now, this was also a bipartisan bill that was co-sponsored by Senator Linda Stewart, and in the Florida House, co-sponsored by Representatives Tracy Davis and Scott Plakin. What this does is removes the statute of limitations for sexual assault crimes that are committed against anyone under the age of 18. Previously, the time limit was within 72 hours. They had to report the crime within 72 hours. Now, the name Donna's Law comes from Donna Hedrick, who was someone who was a victim of sexual assault and came forward, but her violator was free due to the statute of limitations. So this bill that is now officially into law completely removes the statute of limitations. So anyone who has been a victim can come forward at any time when they need to. So some pretty big news there. Now we're going to take one more quick commercial break and then come back with your business and sports news. We'll be back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a
That's
point.
My hand is clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, welcome back. Now, in your business news, Tesla is pitching 5,000 middle skill factory jobs to Travis County in Texas. The purpose of using that title, the middle skill, is to propose jobs that would not need a high level of education so that more folks can be employed. And of course, this is a move to get employees for the car maker's Cybertruck plant project. You guys have probably seen the Cybertruck, and maybe like me, you're wondering what on earth is that thing? However, Tesla, they made their presentation virtually online yesterday during the meeting. So that was their approach to doing that. The average annual salary for permanent employees at the proposed plant would be $47,000. So for those who are in Texas and you're looking for a job, that might be something you want to look out for. The company envisions spending $1 billion on the facility, which will span as much as 5 million square feet of space once it's fully constructed. The company is saying that the project would, quote, make immediate and long-lasting impacts on the local economy. where almost half of leisure and hospitality jobs were lost from February to April. So as you can hear and make the connections, Elon Musk, of course, and the whole Tesla company, they're working to refuel the Texas economy. So a bit of good news coming out of Texas there. In sports news, you guys likely have heard this after the FBI investigated the noose that was found in Bubba Wallace's garage at Talladega. FBI has actually ruled that he is not the victim of a hate crime. They found after their full investigation through photographic evidence and everything, that noose was already there from last October, as early as last October. So it was there for a while. They made the announcement on Tuesday. So NASCAR is, of course, relieved to find that out. And Bubba Wallace says that he still stands by NASCAR. Of course, he's relieved to know that it wasn't a hate crime. It still looks like a noose. He was on CNN talking about it. He said, it was still a noose, and he's still not going to be discouraged, and he'll still continue to stand for what he believes in, and he'll continue to prove himself. He said, it's the only way to, fuel his competitive drive in him to shut everybody up, quote, shut everybody up. Those were his words when he was on CNN. But that is the end to that particular investigation. Now we're going to take a last quick break and then bring you your entertainment story.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing, so good, as in quality ingredients used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
All right, guys, welcome back. And in the final story for today in entertainment news, the White House Correspondents' Dinner has officially been canceled after it was postponed to the end of August, of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this is the occasion that normally is a fundraiser for the White House Correspondents Association, which offers scholarships to journalists and students who want to get into journalism and politics. Now, in February, it was announced originally that the correspondent dinner would have the Saturday Night Live star Kenan Thompson as the guest host. So a bit of a teardrop for those of us who are looking forward to that. However, due to the pandemic, they've decided to cancel it altogether. And, even the after party as well, that has apparently been canceled as well. Of course, this takes place in DC. This is the biggest event on Washington's social calendar, but that is the latest update with regards to that. Now, that does it for us here at the Evening News Rundown. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. We are at Florida National News on all of those platforms. And on Facebook, we do have a few additional pages at FNN News TV and at FNN News Live. And again, if you're a small business that has been affected by COVID-19, if you have a staff of 25 or less, a small to medium business, we are offering free ad spots on our various shows throughout the week. And if you're interested, if this is something that you want to take advantage of, be sure to email jennifer.rosario@floridanationalnews.com so we can get you guys started. But for now, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And our lovely Casey Hudson will be back tonight for the FNN Sports Take. It will be at a special time tonight, though. She'll be back at 8:30 p.m. So be sure to tune in at 8:30. All right. We'll see you then. Take care.